When you look at the yield curve, we came back to 40 basis points, the narrowest since 2007. We've touched that level 3 times. Does it hold, or would you be as sweaty as the boys and girls at BMO who are simmering away, sweating at this point in time? We are a hair breadth away from inversion. They don't worry that much at UBS, do they?
Well, 40 basis points in the sort of yield environment we live in these days is still reasonably substantial. It's so common in US rate hiking cycles for the yield curve to flatten that, you know, sometimes we're a bit surprised by the extent to which people focus on it, frankly. I mean, it is likely to go on flattening as long as the Fed are hiking, as long as there is a degree of safe haven demand for longer dated yields, as long as US longer dated yields are so far above their equivalents in the core Eurozone, for example, or in the UK for that matter. So we don't think we've seen the end of the flattening by any stretch of the imagination. There does come a point, if the Fed is seen to be over-tightening in due course, where inversion, if we were to get to that point, could be a much more ominous signal. But at the moment, this is nothing more than a fairly typical and orderly flattening in a rate hiking cycle.
Yeah, tell me a bit more about that then, what this does to the Fed, because we heard from the Atlanta Fed, from Bostic, he was saying that on the subject of inversion, you know, that's my job to make sure that that doesn't happen. So the market perhaps excused a big focus on this if the Fed is using that kind of language around it.
Yeah.
What kind of signal does it send now, then? Does it send the same signals?
Well, I think, I mean, for us, it says that the front end of the market, given that we think short-end yields have got not as high as they're going to go necessarily, but most of the way there, because they're pricing in roughly what we're expecting to see from the Fed. And as long as the Fed treads carefully and isn't picking up worrying signals from the bond market that they are over-tightening, then the curve, as I say, should go on flattening. But to actually go inverted, or certainly to any significant degree that is a sort of warning signal that the market thinks they're overdoing it, you know, we're a long way from there. If they are seen to be tightening into an economy that is essentially slowing down, then the yield curve will invert. But as I say, we're not there yet, and we think they're following an appropriate path at the moment.